Hello, hello everyone. Welcome one, welcome all. Thank you so much for joining me today. Yes. I'm excited to be here today. And I'll tell you why, because it's a lot of reasons why I'm super excited. Over the weekend, I was a bit down and I'd said, maybe I was getting really tired and I was not even sure I was going to even join today or even do today's live. But I said to myself, let's see how it happens. Let's see how it goes. And then I had to what they say, doctor treat thyself. So, I'm always speaking the game and talking to people about self-love, self-help and all of that. And I realized that I probably wasn't or haven't been paying close attention to my own self-love, and so a few posts just drew my attention to what was going on, and I had to, I don't know how many people saw my post, my reels yesterday, that I just went all out and then just started taking accounts there, like I just want to give me some love, that kind of thing. Like, wow, Sharpie, sometimes just smile, God's got this for you. So basically that's the gist of it all. My name is Solape Azazi. I want to welcome you to this to my autism story podcast, of story that we just all share together here, and just bring different people to come and just share their journeys, just for people to know that you're not alone on the journey, basically. And the reason why we're doing this is to share strength with everyone out there, and just to make you know that you're not alone. For those who are walking the autism journey, I've had their lives touched by it. I hope this podcast will give you encouragement, and just be open to ask questions. This whole thing that I do here is for you to, if there are things that are bothering you, that I'm not going to take a stand of a professional advice. That's not what this is about, but just what has helped me in my journey, what has helped another person in my journey. You don't know whether, the whole idea is to tell your story. You don't know whether your story is another person's solution, but if you don't tell it, how will that other person find the help that they're looking for? So that's the whole gist about this. And I know that in time past we've had people come on and they've talked about several things. I was going to do a quick recap, but I said, what, before I do the recap, I want my beautiful friend Anu to come back again, because everyone did enjoy a session and everyone was like, can she come back, so she's back again. She's back, and I'm trying to look for her so that can't find her. I need her to join. I'm trying to fight. Okay, found her. So hi everyone. Yes, so the last time Anu was on, she shared a lot of tips, and she's back now to give us more tips, and just basically we're just going to talk about different things. So have fun. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you. How are you?
I do. I started off with saying that, over the weekend I was a bit down.
I saw that.
And then I'd already we almost did cancel, and then you're like, girl, if you can't do it, you can't do it. Let's bust and just not bust.
Exactly.
And then I was like, let's see how it goes. And then yesterday you saw it, and I gave myself some love. Some
it's
love.
necessary. That's the whole point.
Exactly.
Of all this. Exactly.
Doctor,
you also have that
if
moment.
you're telling other people there, give
Exactly.
yourself self-love, cut yourself some slack, and you cannot do that to yourself, then you're a big hypocrite.
Exactly.
You are lying, and we don't like liars.
I do. As in, even me, like I told you, like after the last live, which was 2 weeks ago, I told you I was a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I was like, okay, whew, I didn't know like it would be like that afterwards. And it felt good in one way, because I felt like I indeed had helped a lot of moms, but like on the other side, it was a bit overwhelming because it was a lot of emotions. It's such a deep and sensitive thing. So it was like I was absorbing all of this, all of it from the other mamas. But I'm good.
Good,
Yeah.
great. So before we jump into the story, tell me, how do you what are the self-help, self-love tips that you give yourself? I mean, do you experience mom rage? Because I think for me,
Girl,
what I realized was that
yesterday.
it was mom rage that was, everything was just and then I just, was bottling a lot of things, and then but then because I knew what my triggers were, I was able to slow down and realize that these are my triggers, and I was able to then now take account, be more accountable for my actions, and then now start to do the things that need me to be looking at my glass half full
Exactly.
instead of half empty. So tell me, mom
Tips.
rate.
Okay, before we go into it, tips for me, I think, like you said, know your triggers. I
Yeah.
think one of the triggers for me is not being able to do what I want to do for myself when I want to. So minus maybe my son having a bad day or a bad week or unexplained behaviors coming out of nowhere that I thought we were done with. Also me trying to do something, and maybe because it could even be because of the system, the laws of where I am. Like yesterday, it was just the laws, the rules and regulations of where I am just stressed me out yesterday, and I was just cranky. I was just telling my sisters that I was just snapping at my daughter. There's stop it, no, go. And I had to like, I mean, you're projecting. This girl did not do anything wrong. This boy did not do anything wrong. You're just stressed. Do you get? And I needed to like take a breather. So for tips, I would say it could be anything. Sometimes I'm having a rough day. I'm blasting Ashake in the car.
I
I'm blasting.
know.
Yeah.
I know. Like there's this
Um.
song that's stuck in my head. Like,
Yeah,
that's the reason why I
exactly.
had to do that dance.
Exactly.
Like,
I'm blasting Ashake. Or something, or I'm listening to Niger Top 100, or I should be doing something, but I just instead watch 2 episodes of something on Netflix. Like just basically, or make myself a really thick mug of hot cocoa
Yep.
or something. Yeah,
Yep.
it could be anything that makes you feel good in that moment. I mean, yeah, it shouldn't be a bad habit, but a glass of wine, anything,
Yep.
really,
Yeah. Speaking my
anything.
language. Yeah. So,
Exactly.
I call it mommy juice.
That's what I call it. I call it mommy
Yeah,
juice.
I call it mommy juice.
Exactly. And I
My
tell the
son will
kids, you
say,
can't have
"Mommy,
mommy
what's in your
juice.
glass?" I say, "It's mommy juice."
Mommy juice.
You are
Exactly.
drinking your own juice. I'm drinking mommy juice. Mommy juice makes me
Exactly.
happy.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm,
Exactly.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Fantastic.
mm-hmm. So
So
let's jump into it.
let's jump into it. Yeah. So once again, I want to say thank you, Solape. This is truly, truly, truly important. This is truly, I feel like in this world, like today, generally, like there are many voices for inclusion in different areas. Inclusion in terms of race, sexual identity. There's a lot of inclusion awareness, and I feel like we need to play our part in also like doing inclusion awareness for disability generally and autism and all of it. So I feel like this is a great platform for people who are regular people, who've known us before, who know us now, to connect and say, oh wow, I know he's going through this, Sholakwe is going through this, so I'm not alone, I can do this. It's amazing. So thank you, Sholakwe.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned inclusion, because I would just remind me that I said that I was going to talk about how I have been able to break down inclusion in terms of practicality in your own small space, because
Baby,
a lot, yeah.
baby, I'm discussing that today.
Yeah, because a
I'm
lot of
discussing that
times when
today.
we hear inclusion, we're thinking that until sometimes you're practicing integration and you're thinking that's inclusion. And it's
Exactly.
very important for people to know the difference, because integration means that the person just gets to sit amongst you all. But
Exactly.
you are all doing different things, but the person is just
See,
amongst you, and you're just like
exactly.
marking
But
register that
but
you
but
are
but
here. Oh,
Shalakwe, you
but
know the thing?
inclusion is totally different. It means that even if I'm going to eat from that big pot of soup,
Mm-hmm.
even if my spoon is the shortest, and another
Yes.
person has, we are all there together digging in.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
can, my voice matter. My
Mm-hmm.
voice is as important as your voice,
Exactly.
as
Exactly.
daddy's voice, as
But
that is inclusion.
Shalakwe, we even have to start from integration. A lot of places are not even integrating our babies.
I
And
know.
I'm going to discuss that today. It's one of the things I want to talk about today.
Let's
Um,
go.
Yeah. So before I say anything, another disclaimer, I'm not a professional. I am just a mama who's hustling this journey. And, you know, I've been through so much to get to this point where I can sit down and talk about it without bawling my eyes out. And so, yeah, I'm here in my own capacity. I'm speaking on my lived experience, and I'm trying to share tips based on that. Okay, so that
Absolutely.
said, yes. So, the first thing I want to say, like I said the last time, is to encourage a mama who's watching right now. I didn't get here one day, and I'm still on the journey. Whatever it is you're going through, your feelings are valid, your questions are valid. Whatever, there's no hard and fast rule. There's no one rule book on how to go about this journey. Just do what's best for you and your family and your child. Okay, let's go. So my name is Anu Solape Babalola. Let me introduce myself. I'm a wifey and a mama to a hubby and 2 kids. My son is 6. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, 3, thereabout, and we've been on the journey since. And so I'm here to just encourage mamas and even grown-ups, like anybody who can learn a thing or two about this is welcome here. The last time I spoke about early signs, diagnosis, and the journey in between. I spoke about things I wish I did before the diagnosis and after, and things I'm happy I did before the diagnosis and after. I touched a bit on the support system and how it affects your relationships. Today, I want to try and focus more on the family, you know, like how it affects the family, the nuclear family. You know, so basically, I'll start with the marriage. I mean, Shalako, you know this. There are times that, you know, your partner, like I said last time, the very thing that made you fall in love with your partner, the very thing that makes you and your partner work, is the very thing that would be an issue when it comes to this thing, because you both have different approaches. You both had different childhoods, first of all, and so you both have different approaches to solving problems. The only difference between solving a regular problem and trying to solve this autism thing, or I mean, trying to make your child's life better, is it's the same thing. So both of you, like my husband has his way of solving his issues at work. I have my way of solving issues at home and other things I do. But this time it's a joint thing. It's teamwork. And because he's coming from a more laid back, let the boy enjoy the little things he can enjoy. I'm coming from, if he has to pay now and play later, let's do it. So there was, most of the time our arguments are somehow somehow it's, if you check the core, it has to do with autism. You know, it's something that has to do with my son in some way, on some level. And you have to recognize this, mama, that even if it hasn't started, it probably is going to get to the point where you start having friction about something. So you need to be aware. You need to be intentional also about your marriage. I mean, when you get the diagnosis, it's really, you can feel defeated. You can feel like there's nothing, like you feel like life has ended. But in that moment, I implore you to look at your life partner and try and come up with a way to walk through it together. It's not going to be easy. We had to go to therapy a couple of times because there were times where we weren't speaking and this wasn't us. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I remember my baby sister thinking, if Anu and Bros B can get to this point, then maybe marriage is for everybody. Like, maybe I don't need to try, because she knew where we were, who we are, like as a couple, and where we got to, you know. So guys, it's important that you're on the same side and you're doing everything you can. Like, sometimes what we do is at night we realize that we're very tired, so sometimes we have like daytime dates. Like, I'll just meet up with him in his office and we have lunch together, or, you know, on Sunday afternoon after the kids have had lunch, we go and have our own lunch and decide, okay, we're not talking about autism today. Do you get? These are things, you know, that we do to decompress as a couple. We're still working on it. I mean, I'll say, like, a week ago, we still had an argument that had something to do with autism. Do you get what I mean? And so, yeah, that's there. I don't think I have much to say about that anymore. The rest of the family, which is the siblings, I think Mrs. Omokolo was doing a series.
Yes. So we'll get to that. Yes.
And I did watch like 4 of them, and it was amazing.
I would implore people to watch
I would
that.
really
in fact,
implore
I was
you.
going to say that and put that out there, that it's important that if you have more than one child. It doesn't matter if, one
Yep.
is on the spectrum and the other is not. Sibling, you cannot trivialize the role of a sibling in the whole journey. And
Exactly.
so it is important, if you don't know how to start, listen to some of the shows and hear the siblings' voices. And when you do hear
Exactly.
their voices, it can help you because
Oh,
you are
like
just starting. Either you're starting the journey or it would help you
it would
fix
help
certain
you.
things that you
100%.
probably have. Because when she was talking, I was, remembering some things that, when you talked about inclusion, I said I would gladly give a lot of tips on how we have
Exactly.
ensured that we are very inclusive in the family, in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell my husband that I have my family, you have your family, we
Mm-hmm.
have this family.
This family.
And
Exactly.
so because we is this family,
Mm-hmm.
we, this family, our
Mm-hmm.
decision is binding,
Exactly. Exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm.
My family, your family, our family. So whatever
Exactly.
decision we are taking as our family
Yeah.
is binding.
Yes. Exactly.
If we
Ex-
want to move forward, this is how. And then I don't also trivialize his own position
oh yeah. Your husband or
or
your
his
kiddo.
own authority.
Oh
So
yeah.
I pick my battles.
Haha. I think this one is not an autism thing. This one is every woman. Pick your battles.
I pick my battles,
Yeah.
and like when I first started this whole story, I did say that I am a very spiritual person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the ringing a bell all over the place, but once I feel distorted, I feel like I'm far from my center. I like to be centered. And I am centered on God, not
Mm-hmm.
on a church, not on.
Same
I
here.
try to get my center. Like these are the things that bind me. This is I know my boundaries. I set
Mm-hmm.
up boundaries, and I respect my boundaries. Like some people even will say that you're a snob or you this. I tell them no, it's because my space is important to me. So
Mm-hmm.
what and who I allow in my space determines my where I am mentally.
Mentally. Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to be in a space where I'm drawing another person's energy to, no.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can get like that. It can get like that if you're
So
not careful.
it's so, and then because of that, you want to establish that same energy around you in your home,
Mm-hmm.
in your spaces.
Yeah.
And so to do that, you have to include everybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we say inclusion, you have to make it as practical as possible in like everything you're doing, even from the meal setting, from like I try as much as possible, whatever is not allergic to that, if we have it on the table, we try to share one meal
It's important.
together.
We are still working on that. That's a different
One
conversation.
meal we try. It's not every time that we get it perfect, but we are intentional about it.
Mm-hmm.
One meal together, we do that. We
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of other things, like for example, when I because I'm trying to ensure that the siblings know how to play with each other. And so I make games up that we are playing together. Like I can say,
Like
okay, stand at the end of the stairs and then go call the two of them and say, ready, set. The first one that gets up says, takes the this. And then we are
exactly
running and so that sometimes I see the two of them playing those kind of
on their
games
own.
on their own because you have established that, these are things you can do together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's just 10 minutes out of the entire day.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes pick quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Prioritize. Know what is on your list of you know what? I think I've jumped to the end of our story, right? So sorry. I'm jumping back. I'm
It's okay,
bringing you
darling.
back.
It's the passion. It's the passion that is flying out.
Okay. Sorry.
The passion is
Continue.
flying out. No, no, darling. It's good. It's good. It's good. The same. It's still in the same. In the same direction.
Yeah.
But I was going to say that yeah, so coming to the siblings, that series was very, very enlightening for me. I mean, I already knew a lot of things, but hearing it from their own perspective was very powerful. One I remember was how he's a twin and his sister is the one on the spectrum. And
Oh, that was very
he went to
lovely.
South Africa for a couple of years, and he really wishes that didn't happen. And so
Yeah.
immediately I took away from that okay, if it comes to a point where I may have to move Demi somewhere, or I won't separate them, it means that all of us are going. At least me, her, and her brother. So that was very enlightening. So if you're a mama here and you have another child, or you're wanting to get another child, which I recommend, I recommend this because right now in our home, my daughter is the unpaid therapist. You know, something that just by being herself, her brother is picking up things. And because she's there 24/7, they even share a room, which was a different battle. Because at some point, when my son was aggressive, we were afraid, that maybe would he hurt her. But it was something that we had to agree together that, okay, come what may, even if you have to sit down there till they fall asleep, these guys are not being separated. They have to bond till they go to bed and wake up together.
We did that too. I mean, I remember when my younger son was telling me that it's old enough to have a room. I said no. That what we will do is that turn the second room into your playroom.
My darling,
you can have every other thing, but both of you will sleep together and wake up together. You will learn to be in each other's spaces and interact with each other without me being the referee.
Exactly. So I strongly recommend.
There's a natural way for the interaction to occur.
Yes. So if you're a mom now and your first child is the one who's been diagnosed and you're thinking, should I have a second? Should I focus? I have two mom friends here, and one of them is she's almost regretting that she didn't have a second. I mean, it comes with its consequences, I'm not going to lie, because when I did get my daughter, we did see a quite sizable regression with my son. I mean, this happens with neurotypical children. They fight the new child. They fight for attention. So, and this coincided with lockdown. So it was a bit, it was a tough period. But now we are seeing the benefits. I mean, you have somebody who is his lifelong friend, who is eventually going to feel so responsible. Like, I mean, listen to all the siblings. They all feel so responsible for their sibling who's on the spectrum. And it's kind of thing that they're making plans for their lives with that child at the back of their mind, because they're thinking, when mommy and daddy are not here anymore, like, what role do I play in making life easy for my sibling? And and also the sibling or the siblings, raising them individually is very important. I touched on this last time. It's difficult, I'm not gonna lie. I've started noticing that my daughter is, when my son is maybe he's having a meltdown, a mini meltdown, or he just has one of his behaviors, or he's steaming so much, and I'm about to go and give him attention to redirect him, I think my daughter will start crying, yeah, or she'll start doing something to get my own attention. And, I've now started thinking that I'm having to play a balancing act, like, a lot of the time, because she's also seeing that when Demi does this, he gets attention.
So let me tell you, same Miss Wonkolo. During the lockdown, I remember that we had issues also, that, we're in a space, basically. Yeah. And I remember that I was having issues with maybe I'm fighting for attention and all of that. And she advised me, she said, schedule mommy dates.
I do that already.
And
I do that.
This was about some 3-4 years ago. Yes. That was even before lockdown. I remember that we now had a difficult whatever during lockdown to schedule the whatever, but we were still doing any other thing. Like, sometimes I'll tell him that we're going, so I'll pick him up from soccer, because then I know he's the only one doing soccer. After soccer, then we'll now go, like, might be ice cream dates. Mommy, Timmy, ice cream dates. 100%. Mommy, Timmy, pizza dates. Those kind of things. So we do a lot of things like that. And I remember that during the lockdown, we couldn't do any of that. And then I was having to do pre-ACE therapy for him. Like, they give me whatever, and then I do it. Darling. And then he said to me, Mommy, why is only pre-ACE taking therapy? I want to take therapy too. Because at first he says he wants to be the therapist. His mommy doesn't need therapy.
I said, you don't need therapy.
So I now said no, that you cannot, but he now said if he cannot do therapy, if he cannot be the therapist, then he wants to do therapy. So I said, okay, no problem. So when we finish with pre-ACE turn, it will not be like his own turn. And
exactly what I'm
I
already
then
like.
I
That's
will now do like
exactly
it will say it was the exact same
that's
sequence of
exactly what
whatever.
I'm doing
So what
right
I
now.
did was that I just made his own more more
Exactly.
ability appropriate to him. So like whilst me and Priya are doing comprehension with the picture, like who is this, what do you think this person is doing and everything, with him we'll read a chapter of a story, and then I would then now say, what do you think the story is saying?
Exactly.
So it was still the same.
Yeah.
So in his mind, he's like, we are reading the same book, only that it's two different ways. And it
Yeah.
felt connected. It felt like, yeah, it was part of the family.
Yeah.
And this is
The
what I'm
process.
talking about when we're doing inclusion. You have
Yep.
to, at the
Yeah.
back of your
Yep.
mind, think of the other child.
Yeah, like my exactly what you said. Like I even do like once a month I try to twin with her even when we're going to church. Like it's little things like that. Sometimes I pick up from school and I'm like, Darcy, do you feel like going home or you want to hang out with mommy? She's like, hang out with mommy. I'm like, where do you want to go? Supermarket. It can be something as little as that. What do you buy in supermarket? I want to buy tomatoes, sausages. I'm like, okay, let's go buy tomatoes and sausages. And we don't, do you understand? And then she knows, and now I've made it like a ritual. Like every time we go to the supermarket, there's a particular muffin that she eats. She knows it. So when she hears I'm going out, she's, as soon as I say I'm going to the supermarket, she's thinking, yeah, muffin. Mommy, I want to go with you. Sometimes I take her, sometimes I don't. Do you understand? And
In
at
fact,
home,
let me tell you what we now did with the supermarket, because we did a lot of and we still do a lot of supermarket trips. So what I do is that one person is making the list. So we will do shopping lists. So I'll be reading out what I want, because also remember that I'm trying to train my son to be able to practice what he's doing, but that's create to be able to use his learned skills. But so we will then now do, okay, so maybe you go around the house and look out for what we don't have. Now, when you tell me, I will tell create with his notebook. Oh yeah, create. This is your paper. Start writing it. However you spell it is what we're going to buy in the supermarket. So it will now spell everything. When you finish spelling it, then we'll now get to the supermarket. I will then now tell them one person is carrying the baskets.
Yep.
Another person is looking for the, So
but at this point, let me say that I think that we both are doing similar things across the world because of one thing called, I think it's because we got some ABA training or got some of this training, because a lot of, I think that's what has, because
parents training.
After the
it's
last time
very important.
I didn't even realize that helping him potty train was ABA. It didn't click until you said it. I didn't
it's ABA.
And then I started realizing that every day we're doing first, then we're using ABA principles. Like something happens,
sequence it,
and
sequencing events and all. So the thing is that a lot of times when we say these things, people don't understand. So you see, once you can, and that's the reason why I don't minimize. I always emphasize, like, as a parent, you need to have proper training. As a caregiver, if you are the first caregiver to this child,
to an extent,
you are not trained. In fact,
if
it is that you are going to leave the child with your maid, if the maid is going to be the person that will constantly be in your child's space, that maid needs to be trained.
In fact,
because if they are not trained, they would not understand the why behind what you're doing. And when they don't understand the why behind what you're doing, all that you're doing
is futile.
It's nonsense.
It's futile. Do you know, before the lady who is helping us, Auntie Chris, that's a different thing. She's been a miracle for this family. But before she came here, my mom actually took her for training in Nigeria. That's for you to know how important it is. And while we're here, in fact, now I'm sure if she goes back to Nigeria, she can join, she can go and do for that training and become a BCBA, because at this point she knows, like, she knows when, if he's behaving in a certain way, to not give him eye contact because he's trying to look for your attention. She knows, she's learned so much, and it's because I got that training myself. Now, again, I want to say here, if you're a mom and you're really busy and you're working I'm not putting you under pressure to go and do a 3-month course like I did. It could be just go online. There you can find nuggets, and as you go on, you can give those nuggets flesh.
And another thing, if you're a mom, I have an account, a separate account called Cradle Lounge. And I'm constantly putting it out there. Like, there are things, I put links of different trainings. If there are trainings, I put like tips on how you can work with your child at home. information, they say, is king. Information is key.
Power.
Like, if you are informed, then your problem is halfway solved, because you already know what to do. Now is to, do it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just go to that place, go to the website. It's free of charge. As you can sit down and watch this thing, you can as well go to this and just get the information you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at the
I
end
know,
of the
but
day,
like,
for your
some
child.
people, some people are not. I mean, I did get information, but some people were not even. I wasn't. There was a time I was in the place. I wasn't in the mental space to even take on more information about this thing. When I was in the stage of denial. Do you understand? So I think, yeah, if you're in the place where you can take a lot on and actually absorb, because if you're still resentful, denying, you're still trying to take it in, taking more in with it can be difficult. So I feel like, yeah, at this point, if you're not there yet, just if you're in the place where you're just at your lowest, just remember that your child is paramount. It's, yes, you're feeling it, but it's more about your child. So even if it's, you don't have time, you're working, you see your child for only 20 minutes a day, that 20 minutes, please make it good vibes for your child for now, till you get into ABA, till you know what to do next. Just try and make that 20 minutes you spend with your child good vibes. Let's put that aside for now, because there are so many conversations inside this conversation.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah. So siblings, it's important to know their perspective. It's important to think about them as individuals and find their own skills, develop them outside. I mean, it is their reality and there's nothing they can do about it, but also try to find ways, like Sholakme and I said here, to connect with your own child and make sure that they feel just as important as your kiddo with special needs. Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is the child's perspective. When I say the child's perspective, the child on the autism journey. We are the mamas. We've been talking about it. We're still talking about it. And there are not many, because a lot of them are nonverbal or cannot express themselves properly. There is a gap in people realizing or awareness of how the child feels. This book, Sholakwe, it helped me to,
What's the
like,
book? What's it called?
the reason I
Oh, I
jumped.
love that book. The reason why I jumped.
The reason I jumped.
That's
This
the reason I
book,
jumped.
this book, it gave me, he's nonverbal, but his mom equipped him to the point where he could write this book. It gave me a window into understanding and appreciating my son. This book really helped me to see my son, not the son I want to have or the son I expected to have, but this one, because he helped me understand that, and this book also, I recommended this book the last time, More Than Hope. This is the book. I mean, my copy is a bit, you can see, like, I've marked it, like, I've read it like 3 or 4 times. And if you're a mama and this is you just got the diagnosis or whatever you're waiting for, get that book. It really helped me to understand my son, to get to his level and try and reach him where he is. I would also encourage you, mama, I know your child is on the spectrum. The most popular adjective that people use to describe the child is autistic. But find other adjectives to attribute to your child. I can tell you that Demilade is kind. And I'll tell you why I know he's kind. Before he became gluten-free, started this, diet tweak. This TUC, these crackers now, talk, this biscuit. So we're eating together, and then he had an obsession with eating everything in pairs. So he had to eat 2 pieces of pasta, everything had to be in pairs. And he was eating it, and we were eating it two, like that. So I was doing that with him. I was eating 2 as well, and he was eating 2. And we got to the bottom of it, and it was remaining just 3, right? And I gave him 2, and I took 1. Like, obviously, like, he's the important one. And my son looked at me, and this was like maybe 2 years ago. He was like 4. And he gave me 1 back. And he broke 1, his own, into 2. And ate it. And, like, told me, like, eat. And she, like, me in that moment, I started to cry because it told me 2 things. My son is kind. because he seems to be in his own world, he sees me, he cares about me. He's smart. He knew that if he broke one cracker into two, it would become two. So that's why I said what I said earlier. Even if it's 20 minutes you have with your kid, make it positive vibes. You will learn about your child. I know that Diminade is funny because when I'm doing, even though we're still working on him understanding emotions, when I'm doing Darcy and I are being silly, he's laughing. And he's also trying to be silly. Do you get what I mean? I know that my son, he doesn't like wala. I don't know the adjective for that. But because
easy going.
one, he's easy going. He's like
Easy
papa.
going.
He's like his papa.
Yes, now. Easy
So,
going. Gentleman,
you know, I know that
mama.
when once there's any kind of mommy is about to start some kind of drama, my son is just like, Auntie, make I just dig. So observe your child, this one in front of you, and love him while you're trying to make him the best version of himself. I've seen that a lot of moms, as in since 2 weeks ago till now, I've spoken to a lot of moms, and I didn't even expect that. But a lot of them are so focused on the, I don't know what to do now, you know, and I get it because I've been there. But I'm imploring you, these children, like Chizoba said last week, they know who loves them. They feel the love and they feed off it. So I'm imploring you to love on this child. I'm yet to meet a kid with autism that doesn't have 10 other attributes. They do. They are people too. They are children first. They are children first. And they have feelings because they may not be able to express it. They may not be able to, you know, talk about it. Doesn't mean they don't have feelings. They do. And they know when they are the ones causing your stress. They know when they, I think one day my son actually burst into tears randomly. My husband and I were having he was there. We're talking about it. It wasn't an argument, it was a disagreement, and we had said we won't be arguing in front of the kids. But the conversation was getting heated. I don't even know if my husband noticed. My son left and just started having a meltdown downstairs. And I'm sure that is because he felt these dudes are getting tense because of me. They feel it. They know it. Like, I think, like that Sixth Sense movie, and like people that are blind, they have an additional sense to interpret vibes.
Yeah.
So take that with you today. Please, I'm begging you. It's tough for them already. Do you think they don't know that their siblings don't go to therapy? My son knows that he's different. And in fact, my son's case is even two-layered because it's two-layered because we're not many black people where we are. So he's black. And then, so when we walk into a room, we're probably the only black people there.
Ooh.
And then he's now different on top of it. I'll come back to that later on. But it's tough. The fact that he has to, he has it inside. Sometimes I see my son and I feel like he's locked in because my son can comprehend. He understands in both languages, German and English. But he struggles to bring it out. And sometimes, you know, because my daughter is the opposite, she's a talkative. Yeah. So we marvel at her, like the things that come out of her mouth a lot. And I'm sure, and sometimes I look at my son and I can tell that in that moment he's thinking, I knew that. Like, but I just couldn't say that. And you can see him recoil or start to cry or something. And it's not because he's feeling to himself that I knew that, like, I thought maybe I couldn't just say it out loud, but I can kind of interpret how he's feeling. It's sad, but that's just the way it is. You know, there was a video, I posted it on my stories like maybe 4 days ago. And it was a little boy who's on the spectrum, and you know, he's in church. His mates moved to a new class, and he stayed back. His mom decided he should stay back because he needed that extra attention he was getting from the baby class, and she said he was a bit frustrated about it. Now he does sign language, and she was trying to get him to. She was telling him, "Are you frustrated? You know, signing it," and he was crying. He was in so much pain emotionally. And he was trying to explain to his mom, but he just couldn't. Solape, at the end of that video, he actually apologized to his mom. for feeling frustrated because he couldn't express himself. That video broke my heart because it showed how frustrated our kiddos are regularly because they can't say, I mean, just imagine you're locked in. Me that I like talking. I can't imagine not being able to say even 50% of the time to say. It's frustrating. So sometimes I really just look at my
In
son.
fact, as a mom, that's one of my biggest mom rage. Like when I'm like, sometimes I'm like having a conversation with my husband and he's like, that's enough. I'm like, wait, you did not, I've not, hold on, let me say, and he says, no, we're not talking again. I'm like, no. He says, and I'm like, no. And then I will walk away, then go and sit down and write a epistle.
Exactly.
Because if you want to hold my mouth, I write my epistle, then I will not send it. Because I just feel like I still have so much that I need to get out. And you know, so if you imagine and then you just have someone that doesn't even have that
and every day he wakes up, his life is from the second he wakes up, he's trying to fit into this world that he's trying to understand. He's doing this and that, and you know, having to learn to understand 2 languages, having to eat food he doesn't necessarily find enticing, it's a lot, and they're doing so much work just to fit in. And this is going to lead me to my next point, which is, I'm tearing up, which is
I'm not looking at
what,
your face,
you know, which is what we can do, the community, you guys watching, that are not necessarily directly affected by autism. Be kind.
Absolutely.
Nobody chose this. You find somebody who is disabled on any level, they didn't choose that. It can happen to, it could have been you. It could have been your sister. It could have been your cousin. It could have been your niece or nephew. Be kind. It's, and even for neurotypical kids, nobody wants their child to be badly behaved. And even if they're badly behaved, maybe in the house, nobody wants their child to have a meltdown in public. So if you see us at the supermarket, at the playground, at the airport, in school, at the mall, and we're having a difficult moment with our kiddos, either disabled or not, if you cannot help out because you're dealing with your own thing, or you're in a hurry somewhere, or you're just not in the space to, then don't use your eyes to condescend. Don't judge us. Don't strip me naked with your eyes. It's already tough. So this is I'm trying to advertise kindness. Now you watch this video. Imagine that this person you're encountering at the airport or wherever is Annie and her son. Just imagine that. Do you understand? It's tough. I remember that for my son to say mommy, it was a Hallelujah Challenge prayer point, Solape. February 2019. That was all I wanted. And I guess that's when I became a Hallelujah Challenge babe, because before the end of that Hallelujah Challenge, my son said, mommy. Do you get what I mean? Little things like him getting into the car. The amount of steps. I mean, I've never thought about it, but the amount of work my son is putting to get into the car, it's broken down into steps for him. First, he has to hold the door, then put his leg up, then pull himself up. I mean, I didn't get it, that was called motor planning until it became my matter. And I'm not even judging anybody. I used to be that person who is on the plane and wondering, oh my God, take care of your kid. Like, well, now it has become my cross. And I'm here telling you that nobody chooses this kind of breakfast. I mean, life is full of different types of breakfast, but you really need to realize that it could be, I am somebody's cousin, I'm somebody's sister, he's somebody's nephew, and it could be you. Just be kind. Most of the time, being kind will not remove anything from your body. Like, let me give you an example. I was on my way to, 2 things happened when I traveled with my son to Germany. In fact, many things, but these are 2 that really stayed with me. When we're coming back, when we're going, my son initially was a bit anxious, like, oh my God, like he hadn't been to an airport in a while, you know. And so I just kept trying to reassure him and everything. And after a while, he started running off. And obviously, when he's running off, I have my bag, my box, his box, all sorts of things. And I have to run after him. If you are at the airport and you see that happening, how can you help? Just, you can move 2 seats to where I was sitting and help me look over my stuff while I grab my son. You see? Something as little as that, and saying, oh, and I come back and I'm like, thank you, and you go back, it did not remove anything from your life. I'm not saying, I know it can be inconveniencing, and you also have a right to whatever quality of life you've paid for or at the airport or you're expecting to live. But as I said, I'm advertising kindness, and I'm saying it could be you. In another 10 years, it could be your niece, it could be your, and you would want people to treat them kindly. I didn't choose this.
And
Solape didn't choose this.
I hear you, and I feel like that's the reason why we're doing this, because you and me, we're just regular Jews,
Yep.
And we're just telling our story, and
Yep.
just because if we don't tell our stories, people think, oh, it's just a particular subset of people that this happens to,
Nope.
or this is just peculiar to, or I've heard all sorts, and I feel like if we don't tell the story like how you're sharing it now, then we cannot demystify
Yep.
we cannot break the biases. We cannot, we cannot make it accessible to the regular person out there to understand what it is like to have a child with this, and that is the whole essence. I told you that I was feeling pent up. I was feeling like I was in a space where I wasn't understanding, and I said, let's me start to pay forward, and that's what bettered this whole thing. I just said, let me start bringing people that I'm not bringing professionals. I'm just bringing me, you, that were living the reality every day to come and talk.
Exactly.
And you were talking about kindness, and I just wanted to share a story of, because we're talking about this, and I believe that with more awareness comes people become more in tune with their feelings and be able to give that kindness we're talking about. There was one time, I think Priya was I think 3 or 4, I can't remember, and we had gone into M&S to shop, and I remember that he had the most massive tan. He was past his, wanted to nap, and he had been out, and I just knew that we got to the 3rd floor, and I was about to start, and then he just threw a massive tantrum. Like, he was all over the place, crying. He was in his stroller, and he stood with his stroller and started walking. Like, he was strapped in, but he put his leg down. Like the stroller was bent like this, and he was walking.
He literally carried his cross
around, and I was like, okay, this is only me with this child, and I didn't know what to do. Truly, I was crying too. I was there and I was crying. Like, I was staring at him, and we were both crying. And I remember that this lady walked up to me, this very nice, kind lady. She was one of the staff on that 3rd floor, and was like, ma'am, what's the issue? And I said, my son is autistic, and we are having a meltdown. And first, it started because he needed to use the bathroom, and now that he didn't use the bathroom, he has now decided that he doesn't even want. I said, let's go home. He says no. He says no, and like scattering. He said, oh, no, ma, don't worry, that's fine. And immediately, I was still crying there, looking for what to do. I just saw that she had put a barricade, like, this section is cordoned off. Nobody can, like, these shoppers cannot shop in this area. I was still like looking like, are they calling something? What's going? Before I knew what was happening, somebody had rolled a seat for me. Somebody had asked me, do I want a cab called for me, or what would I like? I'm still thinking, what do you think his trigger is? I said he wants to sleep. The next thing, they had put like all those puffs on the floor, that will he like to sleep on this puff, or what would be comfortable for him? I was still like looking, and then the next thing, I said, no, I think I would just be the one to sit on the puff and carry him. And they didn't come. They even brought water for me. For the next 1 hour, nobody disturbed me. When he was deeply asleep, they told me, ma'am, your cab is downstairs now. Where would you like to go?
You see, Solape, you, I don't know if you're still in touch with this woman. You don't even have to be.
I said we adopted them and as our personal store to shop.
I didn't even. The point I'm trying to make is, even if you never encountered this man at the airport that moved and stayed and helped me watch my stuff while Demi was running off, he gave me I asked for his card. I mean, we've never been in touch after that, but what he did was also good for Demi. He may not be able to tell me that, mommy, this man held our stuff. And you may not be sure if he can comprehend to that level, but I'm sure he can. We spend a lot of our time in behavioral therapy trying to get these children to fit into the world you are comfortable in. Meeting us halfway, or even halfway, 20% won't take too much from you on a day-to-day basis. We're doing so much, we're spending so much money so that our children are not inconveniencing to you. The moments that they are, you can help us out because it could be you tomorrow. I didn't carry my baby for 9 months thinking that I would still be chasing him around at 6 like a toddler. But it is what it is. And it can happen to anyone. So I'm imploring you, and that same flight, when we got on the flight to take off, normally my son is a sensory seeker. But this time, I think with all the sensory input, he was a bit agitated. So when we got on the plane, he was supposed to sit at the window. I usually do window sits for the kiddos so they can see the takeoff and landing. But then I profiled the man who was in front of his seat, and I was like, he's like an elderly baba, not the one that didn't start kicking the man while we're taking off or something. And so I just said, let me sit at the window, let him sit beside me. And to take off, the windows had to be open. So we opened it. And as soon as I opened it, Demi started doing, no, close. And I was like, Demi, we need to. And he was like, no, close. And I closed it. And the air hostess came and was like, the window has to be open for takeoff. It's a safety thing. I opened it. He's like, it's throwing a tantrum again. All the people around us noticed. And then one of the women was like, must this particular window be closed? And she was like, yeah, I'll be open. And she was like, yeah. Long story short, she called her superior. The first thing she would say to me is, ma'am, I don't care what's going on with your son. Like, I had already told her, the other colleague, that my son has autism. He has, I was trying to, explain to her that, okay, if this one window is closed, would it really make a difference? And I understand that they're doing their jobs, but there's a way to go about it. How do you come to a mom and tell her, that you don't care what's going on with her child? You need that window up for takeoff. And the woman behind me gave me her magazine to cover the window, right? But it still wasn't enough because there was light still beaming. And then it was almost like clockwork. As we close it, as we open it, he's, yeah, we close this, he's calm. And as soon as the pilot said, cabin crew, please prepare for takeoff, the man that I thought would be, Demi was stressed out, was the one that closed the window for me. And he looked back and everybody around started clapping. And he told me, he said, don't mind these people. The most important person on this plane to you is your son. And you relax. And in that moment, I felt two things. I was so upset and disappointed in the way she spoke to me and spoke to us. But I was so happy and proud of the rest of the people on the plane who were kind to me and my boy. And that stayed with me, because if every other person on the plane was hostile or every other person acted indifferent, I know that my son would have taken that in, because throughout the flight, he was happy. He was good. He didn't throw any time. He was fine. And I'm sure in that moment, if you could tell me, he would say, mommy, please say thank you to the man, or please say thank you to every... Do you understand what I'm saying? Because he can't say that, I could read that he was happy. And as we're getting off the plane, 2 guys actually offered to carry our boxes for us. It's the little things. I don't know them. I will probably never see them again. But the story stayed with me and stayed with my boy.
And those are the stories that actually shape you as a
Yeah, exactly, because we're teaching him every day to fit into your world. We're telling him to model behaviors. We are trying to be good examples. If he meets you outside and you're a bad example, it's part of it. He will take it on too. He will soak on the negative vibes. So I would just say that it really doesn't, if you think about it, maximum 2 extra minutes of your time. Do you get what I mean? And if you're not in the place to help out, like in a hurry, or you're not, because I mean, my baby sister was telling me the other day that sometimes when she sees maybe kids that
I
are
know
on the
she said
street,
she's not a baby sister. I know she said she's not a baby sister.
even
I know
though,
she's 29. You cannot
even
call someone
though
baby
she's a
sister.
baby, she's
You
my baby
cannot call
sister.
someone
She's
baby.
my
She's
baby
not your baby
sister.
sister. She's your
I will
sister.
see,
Just say sister.
I can see
My
back her.
sister.
I can back her. She's my baby sister.
My sister.
Even though,
Okay.
right? I feel like sometimes
I'm fighting for you. Okay.
you'll see maybe a child on a wheelchair or something, and sometimes she's so moved and she cannot even look at them. That's fine. If you cannot, but don't use your eyes to make, I mean, and again, like I said, I've been there. I've been that single chick who doesn't have time for noise and stuff. But here I am today, inside. And I can tell you, it goes a long way. It goes a long way. At the playground, teach your children to be kind, model kindness, because they see what you're doing. Do you get what I mean? Like, children are naturally mean. And one thing I worry about that almost gives me sleepless nights with my son is bullying. Like, one day I was still pregnant with my daughter and I went to his kindergarten to pick him up. This was shortly after we got his diagnosis. And we got there and he wanted to swing on this nest swing. And they were taking turns. And normally he struggles to wait, but it was one of the things we were working on. And I was like, Demi, first the girl swings, then Demi. And I kept saying that to him. And when it was Demi's turn to get on, he was taking some time, mutual planning, to plan how we get on. And we're trained that in that moment, don't give it unnecessary help. Let him figure it out himself, because that's how he will develop. So I was giving him his time, to figure it out and climb on. And what will a 5-year-old? Oh my God, Demi's on the swing now. He's always so slow and boring.
What did you do? Take me through that moment.
It was about 3. And my son came down and just stopped and looked. And I put him back on the swing and I looked at her. I said, why did you say that? He was like, yeah, because Danny's always slow and always boring. He's always like in slow motion. And the other kids started laughing. And so like, wait, the African mother in me, I wanted to give her a bara. Like, I wanted to, like, but I realized that this girl is probably having some behavioral issues herself. And she's probably in a dysfunctional home. Whatever behavior she just exhibited is not her fault. So when my son was done, I told him to wave everybody bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. I went to a teacher and I said, this girl said this to Demi. I know that you can't control what every child does, but I wanted you to know that, like, then she said one moment and she went to call the proprietress. And then I told her and she was like, this particular girl, she's actually in counseling for her behavior. Her parents are going through it. Now imagine if I gave back the aggression and the negativity. She's learning that that's how the world is, so she can be like that.
Yeah.
Everything. And I thank God for the help of the Holy Spirit. And I'm so happy I didn't react the way I wanted to. Even though I called my sisters, and in that moment, I didn't say anything. I was just crying hot tears. Demi was in the backseat while we're in the parking lot. Because that just made me feel like, is this what he's been going through? Do you get what I mean? Is
Absolutely.
this the reason why we get to school some mornings and he doesn't want to get down? But he can't tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So this is me again. Model kindness from inside the home. It just makes the world a better place. if there's no reason why you should do it.
And I feel like this is also, I'm just going to piggyback on what you're saying. And it's also a call for educators to be more intentional in what they project out in their school environment.
Yep.
And yeah, no matter, remember when we're younger, even if your parents are, whatever, when you get to school behavior is different from home behavior.
100. But
Because
here,
you know that in school you are expected X, Y, Z. But I'm not even saying take it in another way like that, because of course, some people will say you are restricting the child from being who the child should be. But I feel like this is where the role of education and advocacy and all of those beautiful words that they talk about when they go for their training.
Fancy
words. They all go for those trainings. But when you come back, you need to break that training down in ways that is accessible to those little minds, when they can see it and practicalize it. And, because if you don't do, in fact, there's a training I'm trying to do right now. And I remember that the case study, sorry, I'm just throwing this in because the case study is like very fantastic.
I remember when today again, I said, Boya, we'll finish today again. I don't know.
More. But I remember this case study because it was very important. So they had 4 children who were bullies. So when they go to the playground, what they do is that they are always bullying all the other children, try to take over the rides and stuff, and then they don't let the other children get access to it. And then they, in the school, in the class, that particular class, they have a reward system for when you're nice, when you're this, those are the tokens. You get a token. There's a reward system. So the teacher in charge now decided that, you know what, we're not going to do a punishment procedure with these children, because of course when you bully, they punish. You get timeout, you get this, you get that. So they took the bullies and taught them how each child merits a medal, a token. This behavior. And you, as the person giving the medal, you have to be unbiased. You have to be, because if you then do that, you cannot be the prefects of the playground.
Yeah.
So they made the bullies the prefects, and then they gave them the reasons why, even if you do this as a prefect, they gave them all of those. And guess what? In 2 weeks, there was a turnaround in behavior, because now there's nobody pushing. Then the bullies could not use the toys. So they were prefects. So as prefects, that thing that you love so much, that I want to be the one to on the slide, they couldn't. So they have to stand on the side. And for every time someone does, so they cannot use the playground itself, but they were on the, like referees. And whenever they see a person that's done a kind deed, they dish out the token. Now the bullies learned to identify what good behavior was and what bad behavior was. Then they get to identify that when they saw the joy that comes with when those kids do the good things, and then they get those medals. And now the bullies now want in turn, because they've been deprived. There was deprivation now going on, because they can't use it. They want to get the medals too, but they already know that to do it, you take turns.
Yep.
You don't push. You don't this, you don't that. So by the time they put them right back,
they were well behaved.
Going back, they were well behaved. 2 weeks.
Beautiful.
2 weeks.
And I think that's something that
wow.
Adopt, yeah, because it's a beautiful idea. Nobody is getting punished, but they're understanding.
And then the bullies were now
in case they cannot see kindness at home.
They were the jailers.
Yeah, in case they cannot see kindness at home, they can see it in school and see that there's a reward for it. So I totally, like, I can't describe it to you. And even for neurotypical mothers, like, motherhood is already hard. Like, you're so stressed, you're going to the supermarket. Like, I'm on a normal day, my hair is not straight like this, so I pack it into a bun, I have my hat around and I'm on the way. And I'm imagine being on the way, you're trying to run errands, and your child is acting up because of something they probably cannot express. Even my daughter, she's 3, she speaks a lot, but she can't express everything. And she's just having a moment where, okay, I just want to be with my mommy, and she's being so clingy, and I'm just like, Dara, see, in that moment, you can, even if it's just start doing funny faces to her while you're waiting to pay. Like, it's little things. Like, it has happened to us before. You know, she was a bit cranky, and there was this lady on the other till who was trying to pay, and she just started making funny faces at my daughter and doing peekaboo. And before we knew it, we were both out of the supermarket in one piece. I was inside the car. Do you understand what I'm saying? And me too, when I see this, when I'm not with my kid, and you know, the other day I was at the supermarket and this man came with his son. I think the boy was about 11, 12 on the spectrum, and you could tell, you know, and I was looking at them and smiling, you know, nothing was going on. They were just together. And I could tell the man stiffened up a bit, like maybe I was looking at his son and whatever. And as we got outside, I just went to return my card and I said, hi, I just wanted to say well done for doing all you do for your son. And I don't know this guy from, and trust me, where I live, they're not very nice. But this guy held my hand and said, thank you. I was like, I was only looking at you because my son is 6, he's on the spectrum, and I'm just looking at this amazing dad who brought his son to the supermarket. And I don't know what that did for him and their family, but that was just giving out kindness. That man would probably sleep better that night knowing that he's a good dad and knowing that, okay, he's not gone unseen. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, dudes, like, it could be you. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, nobody chooses hardship. And so, and if you don't have hardship yet, it's not a curse, it's just the way life is. It's coming. And you would want people to be kind to you. So when you see us outside, be kind. If my son, example, my son does this thing of grabbing things that are not his own, like in the playground, he can grab somebody's ice cream. And a lot of people say, oh, no, it's okay. Can I say here that it's not okay? Because I'm teaching him that it's not okay. Be gentle but firm. No, sweetie, that's mine. I'm not saying you should yell at him or no. But you modeling that him coming to take something that is not his is not okay. That's what's helping me. Tell him, no, sweetie, that's not okay. And you can hold his hand and make sure that he's safe till I come get him. But these are the things you can do. My son left home, and for 30 minutes, we didn't know where he was. That was the longest 30 minutes of my life. I died. I came back. And it was a good Samaritan that helped us. She saw him.
We've had issues of that too.
She saw him. She asked him in German what's his name. Then he wasn't even exposed to German. He didn't answer her. In English, she did not answer her. And she just saw him bare feet, just walking around our neighborhood. And she took his hand and handed him over to the police. She went, like, they walked together for a bit and she handed him over to the police. But I don't want to imagine if she looked the other way and everybody else didn't. My son could have ended up in somebody's pool because he used to go and look for, like, he used to be interested in pools. As I was looking for him, for Solape, in my mind, I'd imagined everything. I was laughing and crying at the same time because I really believed this was a dream. Like, this couldn't be happening. And because somebody was kind, I didn't even meet her. By the time my husband found him, she had left. But she helped the family, and we'll never forget. And I pray for her when I remember that incident. I say a word of prayer for her that God, any issue she's facing, show up for her. You know what I'm saying? Like, the other day, not like maybe 2 years ago, my sister called me. I was like, I don't know what to do. Her son, very sweet boy, was friends with a neurodivergent boy in his class, an autistic boy in his class, and he was beginning to pick up behaviors from him. And she was worried about that, and she's thinking about, severing the friendship. Whew, Solape, I begged my sister. I said, I'm happy that you can even talk to me about this, and we can have an honest conversation about this. But trust me, your son being friends with this boy is a miracle in their family. It's something that they're so happy about. Don't take it away. Talk to your son. He understands. Tell him that instead of him copying this other boy, let him teach the other boy to be like him. And so they made it a thing at home that, are you behaving like this kid? And he's like, yeah. And they're like, okay, let's not be silly anymore. And in the next couple of months, everything had normalized. And she was like, well, and are you sure? Because I invited him for my son's birthday and his mom didn't bring him. I'm like, invite him for a one-on-one play date, they'll come. His mom is just worried about how he will be in that kind of large crowd.
Absolutely.
Allow your friends to be friends with our children. They don't bite. Sometimes they do.
But that's another thing that they always say, that that's the myth. There's a myth that that children on the spectrum are not they don't have empathy, or children on the spectrum don't have friends. But that's a myth, because I have seen it debunked in my life. Mm-hmm. My son has a friend that it would, if even if he's acting up and everything, when the boy just talks to him, that's the only person. Like, he wants to sit near him, and the boy is such a brilliant child, so cuddly, everything, just sits down and like, what are you doing? Please pray. Join. In fact, when you say, do you have a best friend, you say yes. Who is your best friend? You call the boy's name. I see the mom, I'm like, every time I see the mom, I'm like, thank you. You've raised a fantastic, wonderful boy. Every time I always, in fact, he even started, like, there was one time, maybe like 2 years ago or so, he was praying, because he always does his night prayer, and he just says, thank you, God, for friends, thank you. And then when he finished, he said, thank you, God, for a biocho. I was like, you didn't even call your cousins, you didn't call anybody. It's that particular one that you singled out. Feel. But at that moment, I knew instantly that he called him out because he truly, really believes this is my own person. Yep. And from all the interactions I've seen them do, he, without judgment, he takes him as he is. The two of them will be rolling together, like, as if, like, nothing. Yeah. Like, hey, it's okay if your kid has questions. Answer the questions. The other day, my daughter came to me and was like, Mommy, Demi can't talk. And in that moment, I thank God for just the Holy Spirit to handle that, because I wasn't expecting that. And I put her in my lap and I said, but Demi can talk. At bedtime, he affirms you. Because we have affirmations at bedtime, and he already knows how they go. Darcy, so I will affirm Demi, Demi will affirm his sister, he still affirm me. And so we say Darcy's safe, Darcy's loved, Darcy's wise. I'm like, he affirms you every night. He prays. He sings with us at bedtime. And she's like, that's true. I was like, sometimes he just forgets some words. And so what we must do is we watch out for what he's trying to say, and then we help him. And she's like, I'm telling you, from that day, it has probably never crossed my daughter's mind that her brother can't talk. And instead, she's like, Mommy, I think Demi is tired. I think Demi wants more rest. I think, and now, and these are little things you can tell your kiddos. It doesn't have to be some elaborate, you model it. When you see us outside and my son is flapping, that hand is flapping, hold it. Look into his eyes and say hello. It doesn't, I know you're dealing with your own things and you're not always in the position to give, but try. That's all I'll say at that point. Try. So, yeah, I hope you pick something from that. I have a lot more to say, but yeah, I'm going to just try and wrap up because time has gone again. Yeah. I was going to tell you that they will kick us off Instagram. I want to save my video.
Last week, Chizoba asked the question that I really wanted to talk about, and she was like, is autism a gift? Because I've had people, one person actually told me, oh, wow, congrats. I'm like, sorry, what? When I told her that my son was on the spectrum. And I know it's because they've romanticized it a lot. Like, they have series like The Good Doctor. They have, like, they really made it look like some kind of, genius. These genius guys are the lower percentage. The majority of us are our kids, instead of being exceptionally good at some things, they're exceptionally bad at basic stuff. And while autism has borne fruits that are gifts, autism has made me more patient. It has definitely made me a better person. It has made me kinder. It has made me
Tolerant.
more grateful, tolerant. It has made me, open.
Be able to wear the shoes of another person.
Exactly. It has, it has done so much for me and for the family. But in and of itself, it's not, because it's challenging. It makes day-to-day of the child and everybody around the child a bit more difficult, a lot more difficult. So when someone tells you their kid is on the spectrum, if you don't know what to say in that moment, just ask, how's that going? Don't say, oh wow, congrats. Oh wow, sorry. There's no need for that. Just say, oh really, how's that going? And if they want to share, they can share a bit more and say, well, we're hoping for the best. And but yeah, when that lady said that thing to me, I was so enraged, because I was even in the position where I was still trying to make peace with it. So I just wanted to put that out there also. One of my friends just got a diagnosis for her kiddo, and she told me she's not accepting it. And all I told her was, girl, you accept it or you don't accept it. Do what is right for your son. Whether you don't, make sure you're taking him to therapy. Make sure do you understand what I'm saying? Because in that time where you're not accepting, or don't be in a state of inertia. Be doing something that your kiddo, that is good for your kiddo. Just even if it's like clockwork, just be doing it till you get to the point of acceptance that it's a journey. And she asked me, she said, and when does this journey end? And I said, I don't know. I think it ends when your child becomes largely independent and can.
I beg to differ. I think it ends when you end your journey, because you're a parent. As a parent, you would always worry about your child.
100%.
So it's just that the journey gets easier.
Mm-hmm.
And how they say, with practice, you form a habit.
Yeah.
You form a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes easier.
Yeah.
It becomes, and then when you give the tools for adaptability,
yeah,
the child has a more positive outlook to life.
Well, what we're saying is not too different, because in my opinion, I feel like what she was saying was the whole being so hands-on. I know people here, I know a mama here, her son was in diapers till 4, using bottle till about 4, and now he's 8 going on 9. He's conversational. Her journey is still on.
That's what I mean.
Exactly.
Her journey would still be on, but different things will be resolved as you go on.
But it's a new phase, because now what she's
teaching. A new phase, exactly.
So that's why I said I feel the journey would end when the child is independent, at least has a structure. Like you said, you've created a series of habits that become a structure, and the child is, and you can. So it's so vague, because now I'll say one part of the journey has ended for me. The part of me carrying it on my head and being depressed and that's over, but we're still on the journey. My own is, regardless of where you are as mama on the journey, make sure that you're doing, your child is the focus and not you. I mean, I know it's hard because you have to take care of yourself, but focus on what you need to focus on. Yeah. I still run out of time again. Oh God. Anyway, let me put out resources. So I already talked about this book the last time, and today, then this book as well, for you to kind of get it, and you can read. My siblings have read this book. It will give you kind of how it works in their head. One thing that I read in this book was that autism is, for him, at least that boy, time is not linear. He doesn't remember yesterday as yesterday. Sometimes you remember something of 6 months ago and start crying about it today. Do you understand? So that thing really, and I started trying to notice in my son that, sometimes Demi will start saying a teacher's name 3 months after he met the teacher, or the teacher is no longer in his life. You start saying the teacher's name. Sometimes you know, so the book really, really helped me to kind of have a window into their minds. This book also is very big, and I'm still reading it.
Which one
But
is this one? I don't think I know this one.
oh wow, it's an amazing book. So
Mom, what?
it helps you at home. More Than Words. I think I'll send it to you so you can put it on.
Okay, yeah, I've heard
More
that
Than
book
Words
before,
by
but I
Fern.
think I've not read it. I haven't. Is it good? I'll take a look.
I mean, I think I'm halfway through. I haven't done the whole thing, but it really helps you to this whole sensory seeking, sensory avoidance. It helps you to be able to know what your child wants, because we know that this is such a singular journey, right? And so this book helps you to find your own structure in your own journey. And I love that book, More Than Words by Fern Sussman. Another good resource that you can, in your spare time, look out for, Mary Barbera. Her YouTube videos
Oh,
are
she's good.
mostly short, but very helpful. You can get tips.
Another thing with Mary Barbera is that if you feel like you cannot do the book or whatever, you can also sign up to our podcast. She does podcasts, so that's something you can even listen to on the way you're going anywhere.
And the reason why I love Mary Barbera is her kid is still very much on the spectrum, and he's older than adolescent, and he's still an intermediate learner. He's still like, you know, she doesn't say she has some magic, or if you do this then this. No. Mary Barbera, get on her. Like I said, Goodnight Moon the last time, Eric Carle books are amazing.
Bria is in love with Eric Carle books. Like, yeah.
If your child is maybe 3, 4, and they're just learning, you're trying to introduce concepts, numbers, colors, get on Eric Carle. Just go to town with Eric Carle. I would say that's a good one to read them every day. And I said the last time, Twinkle has resources that you can download and make your own. You think I'm a Twinkle ambassador? I'm not. I'm just a mom who is on Twinkle. Do you get? And
I'm a Twinkle ambassador.
I know, but I found it very helpful. And I do. Those are the things I want to share for now. One thing I want to put out there is this. I said it the last time, take your child out. Give your child as much exposure as possible. It's in the multitude of exposure that you can find if they have a talent, if they're good at something, where they like. You get to know your child more. But if your child stays in the 4 walls of your house because, one, you're ashamed, the stress is too much, you're limiting yourself and your child.
You're setting yourself up for failure.
Setting yourself and your child up for failure. So I know it can be tough. There are sometimes I'm just like, I'm not taking this boy to the supermarket today. But the time, as in I go out of my way to take him. He has his own shopping cart. I'm saying, let me pick 12 tangerine. Like it's all part of it. And again, like going back to what I said earlier, he's a child. He wants to do these things with you because he cannot, or I don't know if he or she can speak, but my son can't say much, but I know he wants it. Sometimes I go out with both of them. Actually, I do. Mama, this kind of day, how does one do this with 2 toddlers and no help? Whew. Okay. I think we can talk after. But just using the supermarket analogy, the day you're going to take them, it can be once a month. You wear your agbada, buckle your shokoto, and say that
I think I should step in here and say that you should know where you want to take them first and first.
Exactly. That's why I'm about to
say. It doesn't even have to be the supermarket or wherever. It might even just start with where you can control, and then slowly, maybe for 5 minutes, and 5 minutes turn to 10 minutes, and then that's it.
Even if your list is, for me, most of the time, supermarket for me and playground, but that playground is a normal thing. But even if you have like the days like the nanny knows when the list is like they have 20 things on the list, I go by myself. But there are 5 things we go because we can do this. You know, like you said, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like. But it's the bottom line is you have to be intentional. You cannot just be winging it. You have to be intentional. If you say the first Thursday of every month, I will go and buy 3 things. By the time you're successfully buying 3 things, you make it 4, make it 5. You get the point. I have to run.
Yes, I do. And I'm about to say we are going to have to stop so that we don't lose our
all right. All right. Again,
yes,
but quickly. Sorry. Pay attention. Some environmental stuff may be affecting your child's behaviors. You know, Chizoba said last week that her child went gluten-free because she was very uncomfortable. Observe. Sometimes the cleaning things you're using to clean your house has some toxins and chemicals that may not be going down well with your kiddo. I mean, they even say it for neurotypical children. There's some things they should not be exposed to. So also try and pay attention to that, or do more research on that. I'm trying to rush. So anyway,
that being paid, we will bring you back again another time. We'll bring you back. Come on. Another time.
But yeah.
Yes. But just one thing I wanted to add, which is very important, is that be age appropriate as much as possible when you're dealing with
Solape, I wrote it down. I wrote it down. Yes, don't get I agreed with when she said, don't get stuck in your child's diagnosis age. Your child is a child. I remind myself that he's a 6-year-old, so sometimes I try and fail to expose him to things, but I still do. And that's what I mean by exposure. If I start that one now, I will not leave this place.
Yeah. And then another thing that is very important, and I think that is what everybody that's come on has said, is that tough times never last forever. So they come and then they go. So you need to bear in mind that this too shall pass. So although autism brings out the tough times, but it will pass.
It will.
Put the structures in. Be diligent with the structure. Keep doing it. Consistency is what makes it work, actually. Yep. It's not about how much things you put in. It's how consistent you are about what you put in. So if I say today we're only going to do one thing, and we do that thing consistently, I tell you, you would see the change with that one thing.
Yep.
So consistency is what makes it work. It's not really about what is it. So if I say every day we're going to read a book, when we read a book, it becomes a pattern. We are intentional about it. We would find the results that you are hoping to get. And then I feel like another thing that I wanted to say also is that you need to find the good in every situation. When you start to think about, and that was what Ifeko said, that, you have to start to see the cup half full as opposed to half empty. So when you start to, try to see the good about things, that whatever it is that is going on around you, you see that you start to attract the positive energy around you, and you just have a different approach to everything, because when you start to see the positive in it, it would just lift your spirit generally. That's what I feel. Then I think the last is that you have to celebrate every little wins. And that's important, because I think yesterday I was trying to look back to where we started and where we were, and I was like, wow, we have actually done a lot. It might not feel like a lot, but it's a lot. So yes. Oh yeah, say it. One thing. Say it.
It's a one plenty. So just we'll talk about.
Then another thing is that when the challenges seem too heavy for you and you cry out, I think you need to think of the beauty, and then you begin to appreciate the little things that most people don't care about. Because for me, when it gets too much and I cannot breathe, I have to literally take myself out of the situation and just start to I start that gratitude box.
Yep.
Literally, I would start to write, to count, and and once you start to do that accountability thing, you would realize that it puts you in that mode.
Yep. Yep. That's what I said about how autism has been a gift, because it's
okay. Someone said we should kindly please list them on the chat box. Okay.
The books.
So what?
The books.
So I think I get what she's trying to say. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to stop this now, but I might not put all the things we talked about and all the points. I might not put it right now, because of course I have to run to do pick up.
Me
But
too.
I would take my time, and then I would write a proper note, like I usually do, to this particular life, and then you would see it on the thing to pick up later. All right.
Okay.
Bye. And thank you so much for joining again.
All right, boo.
Bye.
Bye.